across the ether, the other one must go to sleep until that distant day. Across the ether, one must go to meet her fate. The other buried deep below, as he always. Arcane science of temporal exploration, known to no one of his kind. Immortality through artificial transformation, to rule a world that soon will die.
There we go. Everybody can see us and hear us. Hello, YouTube. How's it going? Hope you're doing well out there. Stick around, we're going to have some fun. So let's just jump right into it, shall we? Hello, fellow Galactic listeners. I'm Aaron Julian, and this is WSTR, Galactic Public Access, a Star Wars podcast. Welcome to episode 218. We hope you and yours are well, and with everything crazy going on, we want to continue to be a platform that promotes positivity, life, and hope, and talks about Star Wars. Today, however, we're going to make a little detour. We're going across the universe, and we're going to be looking at the series The Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney+. But, listeners, we are not alone in this endeavor. No. We have Brad and Lisa from Comic Book Couples Counseling podcast. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having us again.
Yeah.
This is like our third date.
Third date.
Oh, you know what that means.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
it's about to get fun later on.
Oh, not prepared.
Also joining us in this endeavor is Heather Allred. Thanks for stopping by.
Hi, I brought a friend with me.
Oh my God, who'd you bring?
Oh.
It's the Winter Soldier himself.
I brought the Winter Soldier.
Cutie.
Fantastic.
Just right for snuggling.
Mm-hmm. We all know he just needs a hug or two.
I mean, seriously.
For real. But we'll get into that. First, Heather, go ahead and tease that news for us.
You got it. All right, friends, family, and other listeners, we have 4 news items for you today. Numero uno is a roster report. Number
Okay.
2. Judge me by my size, do you?
Wonder what that's about.
I don't know.
I mean, it's a third date after all.
I didn't say it. Just to put that out there. All right.
With
As the newsboys yell, extra, extra, I'm changing it to exclusive, exclusive.
Ooh.
Ooh.
And can still break the internet.
Oh no. Is that a thing? Are we making it a thing?
The internet can be broken. Yes.
Okay. I'm with you. Lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels. Let's jump right into our main topic. All right. Before we get into it, just a quick recap. Let's break it down like a cardboard box we intend to place in the recycling bin. We had Brad and Lisa on December 2020. They came on episode 202 to discuss the power couple of Grogu and Din Djarin. Then in March, for episode 211, we talked about the other Disney Plus series, WandaVision. And we made a date back then, and we are turning in that coupon now. We got him back. We're talking about the D Plus show, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So, Brad and Lisa, how are you two doing?
I'm doing great. Lisa, are you doing great? I'm doing great.
I think we're doing amazing. Come next Friday when we don't have to get up at dawn to watch another Disney show. Talk to us then. It's going to be rough.
I mean, there's the Bad Batch coming. So like we have a
Just around the corner.
stream. Yeah, we have a stream of Disney Plus content. And then Loki will be here. So we're missing Disney Plus content for like 1 week.
I don't
2 weeks.
think I'm going to be able to handle it.
No. Line up to the trough. The slop is coming. Just endless. No, it's not slop. It's actually a good show. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I can't wait to talk about it. But yeah, it's good to hear you guys are doing well. Let's just 30,000 foot view. Let's talk about our high level feelings of the show. What are we feeling? What are we thinking about with Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I'll go first
You do it.
because I love jumping in first. Overall, I really enjoyed the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I have issues that we will get into, but as far as the chemistry between Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, I ate it all up, and I'm very excited with how they took their relationship to the next level, and I'm curious to see where we go from here. So I really liked it. And then, there was a lot going on plot wise within this series. And I enjoyed the many strands of conversation that the show ignited.
For
Okay.
me, I feel way closer to Sam and Bucky than I've ever been before. And that's really what I want from these Disney Plus shows that are, keeping us to that sweet Disney teat, giving us the goodness. Like, I want to get the stories within the stories. I want to feel like I know these characters better than the people who are just waiting for the next big blockbuster. So it was not as fulfilling to me as WandaVision. I found WandaVision to be very unique and special, and there hasn't been anything in the MCU thus far or television that's really been anything like it. But I think that The Falcon and the Winter Soldier delivered on a good action in canon television show. And that's really all I wanted from it. So I'm pretty satisfied.
Right on. Heather, any thoughts?
Sebastian Stan deserves whatever award would be given. Is that an Emmy? I think that would be an Emmy.
Or my heart.
I mean, seriously. Yeah, definitely had much more of a just classic Marvel movie feel over a 6-episode arc. I think the storyline of WandaVision, as Lisa stated, was just a little bit more, I don't know. I don't want to say thought out, because I do think Falcon and Winter Soldier was thought out, but I think it had a couple more nuances. Nuances is the word we're going to run with. Had a little bit more nuance going on with it. Yeah, a little bit more deliberate. I like that. Let's run with that. Okay. But I don't really have any, I mean, I will have negative things as we continue to talk about it, but I enjoyed it. I will probably rewatch it. And I love Bucky. I love James Buchanan Barnes. I loved him from Captain America, the First Avenger, and I love him to this day. And that is all I have to say about that until later, when I can talk about more things, more specifics.
Yeah, I felt overall this is a very solid TV series. I enjoyed watching it. At the end of every episode, I wanted to watch more, and that's a very good sign, because it's very easy to be like, this is not carrying me along like they want me to be carried along. It's not quite working for me. I'm going to leave it aside. But me and my roommate, we watched it, and if it wasn't for how late in the evening it was, we would have just blitzed through the whole thing. But no, we wanted to keep watching. I think it added some good shades and contours to these characters that we've already gotten to know pretty well through the cinematic universe, but this kind of lets them breathe and expand a bit more. I do have some reservations. I think there's some problems with the series overall, as far as just kind of like the number of different themes and problems they're all trying to address at once, and I thought it got a bit cluttered. But you could do a lot worse, and I will applaud Marvel, at least for, if nothing else, that it's hard to find an offering of theirs that's truly bad. And it's always felt at least worth my time, even if it's not the most enjoyable. Which I'm not saying this show is, but even with its shortcomings, it's still like, you know what, that was a pretty good, use of my time. I don't have a ton of time to be watching TV shows, but that was worth it, and that's the very least I can expect from any kind of show. So, yeah, that's a good plug from me. So, let's start digging into the meat and potatoes of this 4-course meal. Let's talk about Sam and Bucky. What is it that works between them? And I'd also like to talk about kind of the anchor between them, which is Steve Rogers, who obviously isn't there anymore. And what does that kind of dynamic look like now that he's gone?
We've all been in those relationships. Whenever you have 3 friends together, there are 2 people who would not hang out without that third person, where it would. And when we've seen Sam and Bucky in the past, they've had kind of this antagonistic, competitive vibe that was a little jokey, but also kind of not, because they both wanted Steve so badly to be their best bud, and they both were trying to be partners with Steve. I'm trying to be partners with Stan. But now that like this Steve element is taken out. Like there at the beginning of the season, there was this awkwardness that they had to overcome. And that's really for me what the show was about. Going like, can they truly be friends without having to relate to each other through this other person? And I think that they've really accomplished that.
My favorite relationship in the MCU is the three of them, is the relationship that occurs between first Steve and Bucky, and then Steve and Sam, and then they come together, right? So like Steve and Bucky are in like, they love each other. They have like a friendship that is it is so formative and crucial to their persons. And Steve loses Bucky in combat in World War II, and it's a great loss, and it's one of a series of losses that Steve experiences when he first becomes Captain America. And then he wakes up many years later, many decades later, 70 years have passed between World War II and 2012's The Avengers. And he's a man out of time. He doesn't know how to relate to the world around him. And he meets Sam Wilson while they're out jogging on your left. And that scene that opens The Winter Soldier is my favorite scene in the entire MCU, where Sam Wilson, as a veteran, recognizes this bizarre experience that Steve is having, where he lived a life of combat, and now he's coming back and he's trying to like make sense of the world and sleep in a bed with a nice comfy pillow. And now Sam and Steve can relate as soldier friends. And then the Winter Soldier comes back and he's a brainwashed assassin, and that's super complicated. And then they unbrainwash him. And like Civil War is such a weird movie because because Bucky is no longer what he was. He's no longer the murderous creature, but he's not that far removed from that experience. And Steve wants to help him, even though the whole world wants to go after him. And Sam's going to help Steve reunite with his buddy, hopefully heal his buddy. And then we have that middle period in Civil War where they're fighting together on a team. And like Sam doesn't trust Bucky, and Bucky doesn't really know or trust Sam, but they've got Steve to hold them together. And then when that goes away, what do they have left?
What they have left are the totems that Steve Rogers left with them. With Bucky, he left the book, and with Sam, he left the shield. And so with Bucky, he's saying, you need to reckon with the past, like the past that you lived, the past that you missed.
That haunts you.
Yeah, and the cultural, like, because the book for Steve was like, you need to get in touch with the now. You have to be present in the now. But then Bucky then takes that book and goes like, well, I'm going to reckon with all of the past, my past as the Winter Soldier, my past before the Winter Soldier. So from Steve, you have to reckon with your past. To Sam, he gives the shield going like, you need to see yourself as part of the future. You need to move forward. So I think that Steve, by leaving those two totems, he gives them the tools to move forward.
That's a pretty good insight. I didn't think of it like that, but yes, both those items kind of represent not only kind of a lingering tether to Steve and who he meant to them, but also like what he kind of hoped for both of them, and the kind of knowledge that he can impart to them now that he's gone. Because it is very much a world where they're trying to figure out how can we move on without Captain America. Heather, any thoughts?
I have thoughts. I'm going to start by saying the following so I can get it off my chest and we can move past it.
Go for it.
So Steve, Captain America, Bucky, Winter Soldier is my favorite dynamic duo in the Marvel Universe. There is something about their relationship that they basically are two men who are friends whose roles get reversed in regards to who's, powerful and wimpy and kind of vice versa. And then throw in the mind control and this good-hearted guy and all he cares about is his Bucky and who the hell is Bucky? And that's the moment in the Winter Soldier where all hell breaks loose and you're like, this is where it's a game-changing relationship, because it just took one person to say the right thing for Bucky's whole trajectory to change the other way. It's a beautiful story of redemption, in my opinion. And I love it because then you just have this bond where I'm with you to the end of the line. And then some stupid person in some office somewhere said, no, I don't think we should do that anymore. And we're just going to make Steve old. And he's going to say, I'm not with my friends to the end of the line anymore because I'm going to go get the girl. I'm not bitter. It's okay. And so that was really interesting. And so as I've rewatched Endgame several times, there is this moment where when Steve comes back as old man to hand over the shield to Sam, even before that, right before Steve disappears, there's this eye contact situation that happens between Steve and Bucky, where Bucky fully knows what's about to go down, fully trusts Steve. And so for, that to happen, and now we move into this new show, I think both men are lost without Steve. They don't know what their role is because I've only ever known who they are because of Steve. And so I think their relationship really is just two lost men grabbing onto the only thing that makes sense. And that's who's the other person that has the solidifying factor. Oh, it's the other guy that knew Steve, which then I don't want to jump into our, for future questions, but it then just beautifully blends into that really funny therapy scene, where they're like, are you having a staring contest? But then really gets to the root of it, where it's like, because if he was wrong about you, he was wrong about me. And then there's tears and it's a whole thing. So I think it works because they're both lost and they don't know what to do without each other, whether they like each other or not, whether there's still that, he's my friend. No, he's my friend. It's the only thing that's known to them. Because Steve was not with them to the end of the line.
Yeah. And the question is that kind of shared pain enough to hold them together for as long as they need to be together?
Correct.
Yeah. Very, very interesting angle. So slightly shifting from that, is this maybe the first time in Marvel history where we have two grown-ass men just talking about their feelings?
Well, I mean, I think there are those scenes in the Winter Soldier and Civil War. I think there are moments between those characters where they are talking their feelings. Maybe not to the extent that occurs in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but you also have like a lot of introspection from Tony Stark in the Iron Man films and the conversation between Rhodey and Tony. But I think that the relationship of Steve and Bucky is very unique. And I don't think you can point to like Tony and Rhodey or, I don't know, Thor and Rocket or whatever and say that they have a similar bond. They have different bonds.
To me, like, um every Marvel character is really, their character arc always relates back to emotion. Like the Marvel movies are never actually about the big bad. Like every Marvel character is asking themselves, with my unique set of skills slash brokenness, where do I fit into this world?
Hmm.
And what makes the Falcon and the Winter Soldier special is that they have someone to bounce ideas off of. Like we've seen a lot of men declare out loud their feelings. Like of course the I'm always angry moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's a man getting in touch with like in touch with his feelings. So I love this direction for our Marvel characters. Just, like, let's sit down with a therapist. Let's take care of our mental health. Who here doesn't have dad issues? Like,
I think it's super interesting that both WandaVision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because of what Avengers Endgame was and the snap and the amount of loss within their group that occurred, that both of these shows are about grief and loss and what do you do afterward. And what was interesting about WandaVision is she had her partner and she couldn't really tell her partner what was going on and how she was dealing with it. And then Falcon Winter Soldier, they can talk to each other, but what it's about is them being able to talk to each other about the loss that they experienced.
in the most manly way possible, by throwing something.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because if we look at, I think it's Endgame, yeah, where when Thor and Rocket go back to Asgard, I mean, there's a real vulnerability that Thor has with his mom. I mean,
it's my favorite scene.
All but breaks down in front of his mama. And I think, but it's kind of like what you were saying, Brad, it really took until the snap for the shift to kind of go to that other place. When we watched the finale of Falcon and Winter Soldier, my friend was over and she's like, did Marvel just get really dark? And it's interesting because really when you think about after Infinity War, after the snap, all of a sudden the trajectory of thought process, when you look at WandaVision and the grief and the loss, and you're looking at this, it's it's
a lot. It's
not the first Iron Man, is it? No,
but I do think like Marvel movies have been building on this idea of failure, which is so beautifully described in that scene between Freya and Thor about how heroes fail. We all fail. It's about what comes afterwards, picking yourself up and all that stuff. And Marvel is all about showing the faults of their heroes and the repercussions of those faults. And that's really what they make sequels about, where like, I don't want to, I'm going to do it. I was gonna say like, I don't want to make this a trashing thing on DC movies, but I'm going to. But like DC sequels right now are, let's sequelize the plot. Like, oh, you thought Steppenwolf was crazy. Wait till you see Darkseid. Like, it's not about that. It's about what happened in that film with those heroes and how does that emotional experience carry over into the next film. And the Disney Plus series, what's so beautiful about them is now they have the space to really explore internally. And that's the most exciting stuff for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, Marvel has gotten a fair bit of criticism over the years for the weakness of their villains in the Marvel cinematic movies, which I think is, for the most part, pretty well deserved. But because it usually ends up with a bunch of aliens coming in and shooting a blue laser beam at the sky, and it's like, yeah. But then you get movies like The Winter Soldier, where the villains have this kind of personal tie with the heroes, and the conflict is, and this is true also in Civil War, where the conflict between them is not really about, good guy versus bad guy, but it reflects the different kind of viewpoints that they have and their different characteristics. And so when we get to something like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we also have that going on, but it's a lot more multifaceted, and you no longer have this kind of singular moral driving factor that Captain America was, where he might make the wrong call on something, but that he's reliable, and you want to like stick with him no matter what call he makes. He's no longer there. All of a sudden, it's a lot more gray and difficult to sort through, and that's the kind of mess that we find Bucky and Sam in, and they have to make the best of what they've got, and it's so interesting to see that play out.
Yeah, I think like Marvel took that criticism very much to heart, and I think early on especially was very deserved, but they made strides in phase 2 and phase 3 with
Yes.
characters like the Winter Soldier, Hydra, Robert Redford's character, even building up to
Government
Thanos,
Man.
but also but like Hela in Thor Ragnarok, like her whole backstory, kind of understand why she would be so rage-filled. Her performance is a little more cartoony than a lot of other characters, but
Yeah.
like that colonization story that they are trying to explore in Thor Ragnarok is really interesting to me, and the painting over, the glossing over of history, dark history.
Mhm.
I really liked all that. And then like when Killmonger happens at Black Panther, his motivation is so sound. You're like, well, I think I'm on Killmonger's side.
Yeah.
And then this film, it's clear to me, or this show film is clear to me that Malcolm Spellman, the show creator, head writer, took Killmonger, was like, well, now every villain, Zemo, John Walker, the Flag Smashers, we are going to try to bring a lot of empathy into their motivation. And for the most part, it succeeded.
Yeah, the key thing for a Marvel villain is it always has to be personal for our heroes. And now they've gone so far as not only does it have to be personal for our heroes, but it has to be personal for us, the
Mhm.
viewer. And I think that it's done very effectively in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Agreed. Agreed.
Absolutely. So let's go back to Bucky for a second. Let's focus on him. What did you think about that list that he had in his little notebook, his handy dandy notebook? All the people that he had to make restitution for.
Seems like there should have been more.
Yeah.
I want to see the more, like, how many pages of that
Seriously.
book
Yeah.
was he making amends for? Because decades of being unfrozen and sicked upon people. I love Lisa's take on that, of it being a totem from Steve, and how he took this totem from Steve and he's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna figure out myself by looking backwards so that I can go forwards.
Mhm.
I don't know if I want to necessarily jump to the end yet regarding that.
I'm going to.
All right, you do it. We've
Here
had
we
this
go.
conversation.
I'm not satisfied with the journey of the notebook,
Mm.
where he has this notebook and he goes like, okay, how can I make it up to these people that I destroyed their lives? Oh, I'm going to do something. I'm going to take my time and I'm going to make their life better. And try to distract them from this question that's in their mind with the example of Yori and his son, right? And it's a condition of his pardon too, that he do this therapy and he make these amends. And then he, luckily for him and for us, Sam is also a counselor, and he goes like, that's really not amends. What amends is about. Amends is not about making them comfortable and you comfortable and everybody's comfortable. That's amends. Like amends is like, you have to amends sometimes leaves you feeling less comfortable and less good about yourself. But I think that it's beautiful that he does eventually go and fill in that blank for his friend. Um, and it cost him a little piece of pride and a little piece of um, the friendship that he had with this peer of his, because they were the same age, practically. No, he's still way older.
Yeah, he's
But
still older
still,
than
the
that guy.
closest you can get.
Yeah.
But like the fact that he can do that for one person and then go like, okay, now all I have to do is stop by Hallmark, pick up a nice bag, some tissue paper, give this to my therapist. I'm done. Like, no, actually, you don't get to decide when you have reckoned with your past. Like, you don't get to decide when your therapy is over. Like, doesn't your doctor decide that? And I also think
Yeah.
that is a misinterpretation of, what amends. True. Like, I think that
And
there's
it's part of his pardon.
Yeah, it's part of his pardon. So he still has some stuff to do.
Yeah.
So,
I thought they wrapped it up pretty neatly. I would argue that you're going to see that therapist in the future.
I hope so, because I love
And
her.
I think Bucky's story, what's essential to his character is him constantly reckoning with his time as the Winter Soldier. And while this show gives you a moment where he reached out, finally told this guy, because he was hanging around that guy and he wasn't doing anything, and he felt that poison in him that he had murdered this man's son, and this man has no idea why his son was taken from him, and so he does give him that back. The show has to wrap up by that point in the last episode, and it robs us of the old man's perspective and what he said after Bucky confessed. And I think that was a bummer. But I do think that whatever the next story of the Winter Soldier is, it's not going to be just like Bucky's great and he's back to being normal, butt kicking Bucky. I think he will always be haunted by the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And something that I was thinking of when I watched that part of the show was I don't know if anybody here has seen Barry.
No,
It's very good. It's worth your time.
I hear.
Yeah, so the titular Barry in this show, he's this kind of like loser, low rent hitman from Cleveland, Ohio, and on a whim, he gets sent out to this job in L.A. Where he has to kill this guy who is actually like a student in an acting class, and so he's like doing recon, getting the scoop on him, and he ends up, through a wacky turn of events, ending up in this acting class. Spoilers for Barry, by the way. That he ends up carrying out the hit. It turns out it was like another mob group that ended up doing it. But anyway, he's kind of implanted in this group of people studying acting, and he kind of awakens this desire in himself to be an actor. And the shows are great because it's like this part of him that wants to be like out in public and be recognized as an actor, but then like being a hitman, he has to be like private and like completely faceless. And he's trying to balance those two worlds. But there's a scene where the fellow student who got killed, they end up having like a kind of memorial service in a bar for him, and like his dad is there and ends up like talking about like losing his son and what that means. And it's like Barry, as the hitman, he like has never had to confront that as part of his job. He's always like, done the dirty work and then left, and his hands have been totally clean of the whole thing. But now he becomes like face to face with like the human cost of what his work is doing. And so we see that with Bucky, in that it was against his will, but it was still him kind of carrying it out. All these horrible deeds against other people.
And he remembers everything.
Yes, he does. And he has to live with that. He has to make right with that as far as you can. It's like, what does making amends in that situation even look like? And when do you know when it's over? And is it ever over? And you got some PTSD wrapped up into that as well. And yeah, his work is cut out for him. But it's such a cool angle. I'm glad that they kind of went there with his character.
I think we have to remember too, we don't fully know the conditions of this pardon.
Mm-hmm.
He's been told he has to make amends. Amends to what?
Well, and he has to do therapy, and he has to be part of
Right.
the therapy.
So, yes, I think we, in a non-fictional situation of a group of 4 adults having a conversation, very much can sit here and know what mental health is, and that you don't just walk out on a therapist. Like, you stay in it until you're given, the blessing and whatever. But I think there's an interesting, and yes, I am defending him because I love him, but is there something very interesting about that last episode when he basically stops fighting to save this group of people? He lets kind of bad guys go to save people. There's a very different arc for him than what the Winter Soldier would have done to what, has been ingrained in him for so many years. And so for this guy who comes out of the burning van bus transport thing and, thanks him, you see this actual amount of shock on his face to be like, I don't know what to do with what you just said to me, because that's not a role he's ever played before, and as we continue on with that series of craziness, I mean, they refer to him as Sergeant Barnes, which is something he's not heard in how many years. And I think for him, this idea of going to Yuri and kind of being like, I need to fess up to this guy, is probably because, again, I'm going off of what the show chose to show us, not all the things I can dream up around it. This is the one person in that book that he spent the most time with.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if there was something different about this kill, or something different about the fact that when encountering that person he needs to make amends with, was there something different about it that made that one much harder? So for him to finally confess to Yuri, that could have been his mental amends, that he needed to know, I think I'm okay. Now, again, should he have walked out on therapy? No.
To me, my big issue with that scene is not getting Yuri's response.
And I would validate that.
And I think so many of my problems with the way Bucky's story is wrapped up would be resolved in actually hearing and being a part of that conversation.
And that was with a lot of these storylines coming into those last 2 episodes. They're like, okay, we're literally going to wrap it in a bow. And this, and this is done,
Yeah.
Where I think a lot of the issues they brought up throughout the series were way bigger.
Give me 7 episodes.
Yeah, way bigger than 6 eps.
I would have stayed for 9 the way I did for WandaVision.
I mean, well, I would too. But I felt like WandaVision, they were shorter episodes, but I felt like they, for the most part, I have to say everything for the most part. For the most part, that series had the space to tell its story. And I felt like this one needed at least another hour, if not 2 hours, to properly wrap up Bucky's tale, Sam's tale with Isaiah's, and John Walker's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's kind of shift focus to Sam for a second. So Sam has had this whole kind of subplot where he's dealing with real problems with his sister and his extended family in Louisiana, and his late parents' business. Let's talk about that angle, and how does that kind of make him more grounded, or what does that add to his character and those kind of dimensions for the show?
I think that this was critical because not a lot of our adult age. Like we get a lot of like Peter Parker's background. We know his aunt and his friends but all of our other superheroes have such extraordinary circumstances that are not relatable to most. Being a billionaire philanthropist, not relatable. Being a god from Asgard, not relatable. You know what I mean? Maybe for one of you, but for me, not relatable. And there's this thing with being like a sidekick character where you don't realize that you're not even curious. When we met Sam, we go, oh, he is in the military and now he's working at the VA. I get it. He's seen some shit. He's worked with his stuff. Do we not swear? I apologize.
Yeah, we'll bleep it out later.
Thank you. Sorry. And we're like, okay, American soldier, we've got it. The shorthand. And then you see the circumstances. Oh, he has a sister. Oh, his sister still expects him to kind of answer to her and be part of the family. Oh, he has these other responsibilities. Oh my God, he can't get a loan. He can't go down the street without being pulled over by the cops.
Mhm.
Like he is someone whose story needs attention, and how dare us not be curious?
Yeah, it is that kind of banality of the problems that he has that really makes him relatable and feel like a more fleshed out human being. Because, like you said, it's one thing to be zipping around on metal wings, and that's kind of like your whole life. But then you realize, like, oh, he's a person. He's got other people in his life and family and responsibilities. Makes more relatable because everybody has those things. And there's just this extra pressure of having to balance saving the world on top of that. I mean,
And
go ahead.
the show, sorry, I interrupt. It's what I do. I apologize
No, go for it.
afterwards, but I still do it. He is a black man who was given the shield by Steve Rogers, and this show wanted to ask, can a black man in good conscience carry the mantle of Captain America? And this show wanted to confront that and have a conversation about it. And race in America. And I think that I was surprised that they wanted to have that conversation. And then through Isaiah Bradley, that they went as far into having that conversation. At the same time, when Sam finally does take the shield, the reasons he spits back to Isaiah Bradley and to the GRC senators of why he is being Captain America, I wish that was explored a little bit more. And again, I think that could be a time issue. They could have had a much longer conversation around that. And for the most part, I'm satisfied with it. But I think it's pretty creaky at the same time. I'm glad they introduced that concept and that conversation, but it's a little creaky.
But I think it's going to be part of the conversation for as long as he's carrying that shield.
And Malcolm Spellman has said as much, that, just because he's wearing Captain America's uniform, don't think he is now done having the conversation of should he be wearing Captain America's uniform. And that should be the story of any Captain America, right? I mean, it was Steve's story too. What am I doing in this uniform? Why am I in this spangly outfit? How do I reckon with the American history, the blood that's in that flag as much as anything else? And that's when Captain America stories in the movies or in the comics are talking about that. Those are the best stories, the most interesting stories, and they need to continue to happen. I just felt like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier took us right up to the edge of that conversation, and then we were done.
Yeah. I mean, to an extent, that was the kind of issues that Wyatt Russell's character, John Walker, had to initially deal with when he's kind of chosen as Captain America's replacement.
Yeah.
And he absolutely cannot fill those shoes. But
Right.
I called him Captain America. But Yeah, you and I'm so glad that they brought this up, and maybe we can talk about Isaiah a bit more. But um, you do have these qualities where it's like becoming Captain America, taking on this symbol, all the ideals of what America should be and what we aspire to. You're also taking on all of America's history, and that could be pretty ugly.
And it's sins.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's
sins.
present. And
Yeah.
it's present.
Yeah,
You
and it's
know,
present. Yeah.
like the idea of, I know that my image is going through this television camera, and there's a good number of people who are sick at the sight of me holding this shield.
hmm
Like it cannot be ignored. So
And I just think it's also important, for me, while I was watching The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I felt it crucial to engage with people of color and Black film critics and TV critics and what they were thinking and how they were talking about The Falcon and the Winter Soldier and the pleasures and disappointments that they had in the series as well.
Yeah, I'm glad they alluded to things like the Tuskegee syphilis study, and other horrible, horrible things that the American government has done, specifically at the expense of Black people, and the kind of aftermath of that we're still dealing with and trying to get through. It couldn't be a more timely issue. So, um, I don't know where to go with that,
Well,
but it's at
I
least important to have the conversation.
it is
Right.
absolutely important to have the conversation. And I think we have to also acknowledge the fact that this show, when it was being filmed, George Floyd had not happened yet. And the
Mhm.
protests of last summer hadn't happened yet. And then they did reshoots to try to incorporate more of that conversation and to deal with that. And I think you feel that massaging of the scripts in the
Yeah.
final product. So I'm really excited for Captain America 4 and seeing where they take that conversation now with 2020 in their mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will say this, slightly off topic, but on topic. When Falcon Winter Soldier was announced, I was very excited, but also like, I don't really care about Falcon. Not because I don't enjoy him as a character. I just, he didn't really excite me. But I did enjoy, the relationship that he had with Captain, in the discovery of who the Winter Soldier was. And then you go into the Civil War, and one of my favorite scenes is, when Bucky's got his arm in the chumpy thingy, and Steve asks a question and he's like, you used to put newspapers in your shoes. And, it's like, really, you're going to go off of that. And we're good with the man that just murdered a bunch of people kind of thing. And I think that's a really great trio kind of conversation there. But, cynical Heather was like, yep, let's give him a family. So it makes him seem like he's got a storyline that he didn't have before, because Bucky had a storyline before the series. Falcon didn't. And so it makes sense then that you have to flesh this out. And then obviously, hindsight being 2020 and seeing what the full story is and seeing him go and like officially take on the Captain America role. Well, yeah, it does make sense. I think, for him to give his little speech at the end after talking to Isaiah Bradley and taking a conversation that he very much could have been like, yep, I'll just not take up the shield and I can easily go with what's been done. But to make that statement of, no, I'm going to take the same words that I've been told and I'm going to put a spin on it that is actually going to be a powerful statement for what needs to happen, has definitely changed my perspective on Sam and that character. And my apologies to Anthony Mackie for the comic book costume decision.
Oh man, I love the suit. I love the suit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it translated as well to film, but it's all right.
I mean, I have seen both sides of that conversation. For me, it really, really works for me. And If it doesn't work for you or others, fair enough.
Whatever.
But I adore it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's a wee bit Silver Age, but you know what? We'll allow it.
I think it's a way lot Silver Age, and I love it.
All right. Let's shift focus once again.
All right.
We've got a lot of ancillary characters in this show. People we haven't brought up yet. We've got Sharon Carter, Isaiah Bradley, Helmut Zemo, and of course Carly Morgenthau, otherwise known as Enfys Nest. Do we any kind of initial thoughts about how they feed into the story? Kind of cool insights that you have on who they are. What really stood out to you?
So many thoughts.
You
So
go
many
first.
thoughts. Well, should we pick a one, or should I just say, like, do I do like a rundown, a barrage of all my feelings on all of them?
Oh man, barrage me. Let's go.
Barrage. Okay. Well, Erin Kellyman as Carly Morgenthau, I think it's a fantastic performance. I think she's awesome in the role. And I think that the Flag Smashers idea, which in the comic, I never really enjoyed that character. And I never even really paid attention to that character from the Mark Gruenwald years. And so they take that and they go like, well, how do we incorporate it into the snap? Well, when the snap happened, it's like when the squid drops in Watchmen, the world came together. We all united. We put aside our differences and we worked together. And then the snap is over, the blip or whatever. And people come back and, well, I was living here. I had room to live here now, but now you're saying that you want your old house back, but it's mine. And then the government kicks me out. And then borders start being borders and governments start being governments again. And that frustration that they experience, their whole mantra of, one world, one people, like that's what I believe. Bruce Lee said, we're all one tribe under the sun. Heck yeah. I fully bought into Carly Morgenthau's motivation for her group. And then she starts killing people, and that's what villains do. And then,
well, I like the ongoing conversation with her character and with Zemo's character about the inherent supremacy of thinking that you are the person who should have the serum and how divisive that can be.
Yeah.
The second you say, I am now the strongest in the room and therefore I am making the decisions, you become this volatile person.
So then you go to the Zemo character, right? Who succeeded in his goal of destroying the Avengers in Civil War. He is the one victorious villain. And he had his revenge for the loss of his family. And now he has to figure out, well, what is my life now that I've had my revenge? I destroyed the Avengers, but I'm still in a cell, but I'm a pretty good manipulator. And I'm still anti, heroes and icons. And I like his whole head work. I thought that was great. And I thought Daniel Bruhl is a blast. I think they rushed getting him into the squad. I wish the jailbreak experience was a little more well constructed or thought out or extended. 7 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. Let's have that show. And then once you get those three guys for a few episodes together, running off of each other, I thought was extremely entertaining. And then how that allowed for Io and the Dora Milaje to show up in the Wakandan conversation. Very, very good. Love all of that.
I love Zemo in particular in his the way that he was toying with Sam and Bucky. And through his time with Sam and Bucky, he was able to reverse their opinions on the super soldier serum and on so many different levels. I love the idea of a supervillain whose power is just, he's super insightful. He is like psychologically in tune. And, we talk about on the podcast all of the time, like, if you know the love languages, you can get anybody to do anything. Let's be real. So I loved that element too.
So then John Walker, Wyatt Russell, love Wyatt Russell. that ending shot of the first episode when he's like, low angle, staring at the camera, wink and a smile, and big old Dumbo ears. And like, what a great slap in the face that image was. And then the very next episode, they launch into his like Good Morning America presentation and the unveiling of Captain America and giving him a little more backstory and a little more relatability. And you kind of understand where, why he wants to do what he wants to do, but everything he's saying about why he wants to be Captain America and what makes a good Captain America is wrong. And then the way they build that up to that final shot of the whole world is watching and he cuts that dude's head off with the shield. It's one of the most horrific moments in any MCU story for me.
Yeah.
And then you go from that to the final episode where he does make a choice after he makes his like janky sheet metal shield and goes after the Flag Smashers. He wants to prove himself. He's been stripped of the role. And he has a moment like Bucky where he could save these people or he could kill these terrorists as he sees them, and he chooses to save those people. And then suddenly John Walker and Bucky are fighting back to back against the Flag Smashers and trading quips at the end and quoting Lincoln and then mocking him for quoting Lincoln. And it's kind of funny. And then he's US agent. And then I'm like, well, I mean, you took it to a really dark place and then you resolved that so quickly.
Yeah.
And I hate it. I hate it so much.
But it isn't that different than what actually happens
In real life?
in real life. Like if you are in the military and you do something wrong,
Or a cop.
or you're a cop, you go to a military tribunal. You don't go to jail. Like I think that what makes John Walker such a divisive character is the fact that he is a person who is dealing with so much shame. We know that there was something that happened in Afghanistan that he doesn't feel heroic about, and they gave him medals. And
Maybe
in
he was
giving
there with the
him
Punisher.
Yeah, maybe.
in giving him those medals, he is now trying to earn those medals. And so like,
And then he gets the suit and he's trying to earn that suit.
So he's always 2 steps behind because he's always operating from this place of self-loathing and shame. Then you give this person super soldier serum who takes the core of who you are and exacerbates it. And now he is just this bullet of just self-hatred and bigotry
rage.
Misplaced rage, because they mentioned that at in the second episode where Hoskins, Battlestar, says to him, you can't solve things with your fists anymore.
Mhm.
And he's like, yeah, but John Walker is still in that mode. That's still like his mentality. And when Battlestar is killed, when Hoskins goes, the rage takes over. And I appreciate that. And he directed that bullet of rage onto the one Flag Smasher who didn't technically kill his friend, but is associated with the murderer. And he kills that dude.
The second you make somebody an enemy, like
he otherizes them, right?
Yeah.
And so like, I love all that. And I think I don't want John Walker to be killed or, turned into a mustache twirling villain or anything like that. I think we explore that character with empathy. I just think that you go from the whole world is watching to the final episode and he's US agent. I'm back, baby. And it's just so rushed to me. It's so rushed.
Yeah. Well, we don't know exactly who Val is at this point.
Sure.
We think probably she is an extension of or related to Hydra.
She's definitely an evil Nick Fury is how I'm.
So it's not like he's, back in business with the good guys or anything like that.
Yeah.
Who I think is going to be a very interesting character is his wife.
Do you think we're going to see his wife ever again?
Like, to me, I think she's the most tragic figure because, like, if you look at the way that Battlestar acted around him and the way she acts around him, they were elements to manage his emotions,
Mm.
you know? And now that he's lost his best friend and all he has is his wife, you know, like, I just, like, my heart, like, can Disney do that? I don't know. I don't know. But
Yeah.
like, because I don't think that she's necessarily on board with evil. She seems like a really nice lady
and
with a nice coat.
Yeah, and I don't think that John Walker's on board with evil.
No.
And I don't think he's an evil character.
He's being manipulated because he is so much part of the machine,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes, go. We'll stop rambling.
I think whoever's going to stroke John Walker's ego, that's where his loyalty lies.
Yes.
And I think that's where part of this wishy-washy situation of his character through the 6 episodes happened is, hey, you're a good guy. Here's a shield. And he's like, I'm on it. Cheesy grin and all. And then we see this instant shift because the one other, person this person in his life who is his right-hand man is like, you're awesome. Go do it. You can be captain, is gone. And now he's like, that's not cool. So now he's got to do that. And then he's met, back with the good guys, with Bucky and Sam. And he's like, all right, well, I'm going to do the good thing because that's going to get me the credit. And then, Val comes and is like, aren't you pretty? And then he's like, all right, if this is going to get me the next rank in office and stroke my ego, let's do it. I mean, he's just an insecure man.
Yes.
Who also needs a hug, apparently.
I think like his righteousness is going to be his downfall because it's not like Steve Rogers always thought that he was right. Steve Rogers harbored a lot of doubts. I think particularly at the end of Infinity War and the beginning of Endgame, where he went into Infinity War going like, we're going to leave no man behind. And because of that decision, the snap happened, or the end of Civil War. The second he thought he had, mishandled the shield, he dropped it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
which is another interesting thing.
So like Steve has always been Steve always was processing his self-doubt. And I think that is the journey that Sam is now going on, carrying the shield. And I think that John Walker serves as an antithesis to that. Because I have the shield, I have the license to be right.
Yeah, and this showrunner and as a co-writer of the next Captain America understands that that's the conversation of what goes on with Captain America.
Really well said. All right, so let's zoom out a little bit and let's talk about where does the series sit for you in the entirety of the MCU? How does it relate to everything else? If you have a ranking, where would you place it? Let's talk about that for a bit.
You go first, because Brad literally does have a ranking. You can look it up.
Well, there's 25 of them, and this is number 20 for me. So what's that? Bottom, middle, top, bottom.
Bottom third, fourth.
Yeah. I mean, but like to say that's when I say that's not me being like, this is garbage. I give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I still think it's a really good show. And it's, but for me, there's not a single bad MCU movie. I like every single one of them. Yes, Thor: The Dark World. Yes, The Incredible Hulk. They're 25 and 24. Don't worry. But I still watch them every year. I still watch them and I enjoy them. Malekith, I love you. But like at the end of the day, the scenes, the connection that we get between Sam and Bucky is so beautiful, and how they find each other through their love of this other guy, I think is really interesting. And I really like it. It's not my favorite, but I really like it. And it, I loved WandaVision a lot more.
Gotcha.
To me, I don't see the Falcon and the Winter Soldier as like a standalone thing like WandaVision is. I see it very much as like a connecting
Strand.
strand. I don't like, to me, like we've had this conversation off mic. I don't know why I said that, but this has been rehearsed.
Full disclosure.
We do not agree on this point is what I'm preparing you for. I feel like you could skip this movie and still jump into the MCU, just the movies, and be okay. Like, I think that like shorthand, you go into the next film. Oh, Falcon is, he has the shield. The last time we saw him, he was given a shield. Cool. I got it. Bucky, he seems to be doing a lot better. Nailed it. You know what I mean? Where I feel like I like the super fan. I mean, and not even a super fan, just a fan will watch this. But is your mom going to watch this? Well, she
watched it.
Is my mom going to watch this? No. But has she watched? There's no median mom in between his mom who's cool and my mom who's not.
I think you can't even really say that, Lisa,
until we see
until you see whatever the next thing is. To me, it's not about a costume change, right? I don't think the Bucky we're going to see next is the same Bucky that we saw in Endgame.
But I'm saying, is everybody going to appreciate the nuances of that?
I mean, I can't speak for the entire planet. I think some people, you talk to those people all the time, right? Like, all I've done is watched Endgame, and you know what? I had a lot of good fun. Like my dad had never watched an MCU movie. We went and watched Endgame. He's like, I don't know what happened, but I like that talking raccoon character, and the Thor stuff was funny. And my dad enjoyed himself. Marvel movies have stuff in there. If you give yourself to them, you will enjoy whether you've watched the entire chain of films or not. But if you're saying do you do if you're watching Captain America movies, if you want to get into the mood of Captain America, you watch all the Captain America stuff. Could you skip this before Captain America 4? I don't think you could.
We shall see.
We shall see. I think Bucky is radically changed. I think Sam is pretty damn changed too.
I think that is true. Because I've been on this journey as well.
Mm-hmm.
But for the common movie goer, are they,
You know what? I don't care about them. They're not watching this show right now. Yes, Heather.
I feel like I want to quickly say, outside of one scene from WandaVision, I could say the same thing about WandaVision. You don't need to see it to know what's going on in the Marvel universe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my heart.
I know, Lisa, you and I are no longer friends, and I accept that. But I mean, outside of her being introduced as the Scarlet Witch, which only happened because of, movie rights and people signing papers, really where they end it, she's like, Thanos, you cost me everything. We clearly know she's powerful. They could introduce her in Doctor Strange and she would just be more powerful.
She has 2 children now that are in a parallel universe.
Maybe.
Vision is back and white.
Assuming that they even reintroduce those kids again. And if they don't, then we didn't need to know about them to begin with. Okay. Again, coming from someone who's just watching the films with 0 comic book knowledge.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
Oh, you may be right. And now my heart is sad.
And I don't say it to be like, haha, I won the prize. But it's more, I think all the Marvel films can be independent. But if you watch them all together, that's when you go, I see what you did.
Yeah.
It's like the Star Wars stuff. When you watch The Force Awakens and they do those little, as we call them on, the tip of the hats, to something different, or you go and you look at the Solo movie and you have this great moment where Chewbacca and Han meet for the first time. And you're like, I know where this is going because you know the bigger arching story or whatever. So I just feel like they all have their place.
I'm gonna swivel though. I'm gonna swivel and go to say, like, at least WandaVision gave us something that was different, where this was just another action movie.
And I will agree with that.
Here's the deal. Like, do you need to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp to enjoy Avengers Endgame? No. But if you do, you pick up a few things here and there, right?
Yeah.
It all depends on what you're watching. So like the
You
next
watch
Avengers,
Ant-Man and Wasp for Paul Rudd.
Well, yeah, of course. But like if you're watching the next Avengers movie, I doubt the next Avengers movie, you will need to have watched the Falcon and the Winter Soldier to appreciate the next Avengers movie. But I do think if you watch the next Captain America movie, you're going to need to have watched this to fully appreciate.
I hope so.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
See, I would kind of classify this series as being Captain America 4. In a lot of the ways, it covers the same kind of ground, and it's in the same continuity, features a lot of the same characters, and deals with the aftermath of a lot of the same conflicts. So that's kind of where I categorize it in my mind. It's probably not totally correct, but whatever.
I think I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah, what I saw interesting before we watched Captain America, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I guess now it's Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Before we watched it, my roommate and I, we saw that Disney Plus had these had a short series of like recaps for different characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And they're like 5 to 8 minutes, and they just kind of run through the major beats of their story throughout the entire movie. It was probably one intern's job during the pandemic to edit all this together. But I wonder if they're going to have things like this for like WandaVision or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where it's just like, I don't want to, spend the next 8 hours watching this. Can you just give me the skinny on what happened?
Wikipedia it.
If
No,
if D Plus doesn't do it, YouTube will.
I can tell you what needs to happen.
What's that?
They need that character from the first Ant-Man who retells stories.
Kenya.
He just needs to retell the entire Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And I
Why has that not happened?
I don't know.
That's so good. Michael Pena should do that.
I'm just saying.
Oh man,
That would be amazing.
he needs something better than Tom and Jerry.
Oh, that's so good.
What we don't need is flashbacks.
Yes.
Well, if a flashback to a television series happens in a movie, I'm going to be.
No. I mean, I'd like a flashback movie to Isaiah Bradley's time.
Yes.
I'd like to see more of that story.
Yes.
Well, speaking of flashbacks, there's another Disney series, Disney Plus show coming that's taken a flashback.
Oh.
Yeah.
Pray tell, what is it?
My other favorite Marvel character. Tom Hiddleston. No, Loki. The Loki show's coming in June, and they're gonna go back in time in the Marvel timeline. I assume nobody's excited about this one.
I'm super stoked.
Super excited.
Like, this is what I want from like extending the Marvel universe. And like, it's one of the beautiful things about comic books is that you can always just dip in and fill out. And it happens with Star Wars as well, where you go back to a piece of the timeline and go like, we had a sentence about this. Now let's make it an entire movie or an entire TV series. So that I'm super excited about Loki.
I think Loki, I mean, clearly watching the trailer, it's going to be fun. Like it looks like a blast. I can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be surprisingly emotional as well. You know, that version of Loki has a lot to unpack of our version of Loki. And I think it's going to get pretty deep.
Hope so. He's like buzzing around with the time cops, having to set things right in a lot of weird different areas and times. There's pretty much unlimited potential with that kind of framing device for your plot. So should be pretty fun. Okay.
I'm excited.
So Brad and Lisa, thank you so much for joining us to talk about Falcon
Ooh.
and the Winter Soldier. Where can our listeners find you?
I am always accepting words of affirmation at Sidewalk Siren on Twitter and Instagram. Brad, where can all of these WSTR listeners send their words of affirmation to you?
You can't do the same outro on the show as our
Yeah,
show.
do those plugs. Plugs.
You can find me on all social medias at Mouthdork. You can find the podcast at comicbookcouplescounseling.com, on Twitter and Instagram at CBCC Podcast.
Fantastic. Well, stick around. We're going to go ahead with the rest of the episode with these fine folks. But first, we got to pay some bills. YouTube chat, we're going to take a brief break. Lisa, your camera is frozen.
Really? What am I doing?
I don't know.
I'm looking over at Brad.
Let's try to
I
take
don't know.
like 2 minutes and try to fix it. If we can't, no worries.
I'm not really loving having the video on. Anyway. I don't know what would be the first. I just turned it off.
Yeah, off and on.
Off and
Well,
on.
it's not coming back on.
Hey,
Oh,
there you
I
go.
am.
Perfect. Okay, let's get right back into it. All right, you can find us on the socials. Heather at Hawk Awesome on Twitter, Instagram. Myself at Aaron Julian on the Instagram, the one that I haven't updated in 6 months. And we're part of the Red 5 Network at Red 5 Network. And of course, our regular handle at WSTR Media. You can email us at mailbox@wstrmedia.com. Leave us a voicemail at 630-557-WSTR. That's 630-557-9787. Call us, leave us a voicemail. We'll play it on an upcoming episode of the show. Our entire back catalog of episodes and all links can be found at podcast.wstrmedia.com. Hey, podcast listeners, if you're listening in and you're like, hey, I want to be a part of this YouTube shindig, well, we've got good news for you. Head over to livestream.wstrmedia.com. We stream live to YouTube every Monday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Don't miss it. That's livestream.wstrmedia.com. Come check us out. Say hi. Look at our beautiful shining faces. And then remember why you stick to podcasts. You should check out Audible. audibletrial.com/WSTR. Get your free 30-day trial. Any kind of audiobook you can think of is on there. You also get 2 free Audible originals you can't get anywhere else. Heather, when we were prepping for the show, you were listening to one of these audiobooks. What's been on your rotation?
Yeah, I've been flipping between some fiction and nonfiction. I just reread the Hunger Games trilogy because, teenage Heather needed to get excited again. And I was in a weird spot where all the books I wanted to read were not available. So I put them all on hold. And so I picked up this Red Queen Glass Sword series. I don't know the actual name of the series. So Google the Red Queen and you'll find it. And then the minute I checked it out and started listening to it, all my holds became available. So I will be moving on to The Woman Who Broke Codes. I believe it's a woman in the 1940s who did code breaking, which I'm very excited about. Yeah, so I've got the Midnight Library. Ooh, that was hard to find inside my brain. So
I loved that
well
book.
done.
Okay, great. I had a friend read it and she's like, I need someone else to read this so I can talk to them about it. So doing my good friend due diligence.
Well, if that sounds like something that you'd like to listen to, that's audibletrial.com/WSTR. Grab it for free. You can cancel right away. No questions asked. We still get a kickback from Amazon. You get a book that you get to keep forever. Everybody wins. Actually, Jeff Bezos wins, but Anyway, we also got a merch store, store.wstrmedia.com. Head on over there. The good folks at Teespring can cover you or any one of your loved ones head to toe in WSTR merch. Did you forget something for Mother's Day? Maybe you can grab something there. Just say it. It's coming up. And we're brought to you by our Patreon, patreon.com/WSTR Media. Our very generous listeners and patrons that are underwriting the show. Thank you so much. That is Jeremy Myers, Scarif Scuttlebutt, Elena Strikes, and Nicholas Schaefer. Your continued dedication to the show is noteworthy and very much appreciated. So thank you. They're enjoying exclusive content you can't get anywhere else, including Carla's Costuming Corner, Heather's Holocron, and of course, Starside Chat with me and JD, where we get up to all sorts of shenanigans. We're doing a playthrough of Knights of the Old Republic right now, so don't miss it. All right, our bills are paid. Heather, I think it's time to take out that trash with the Twitter trash compactor.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, friends. Last week, an imperial inspection took place on our friend Ray. So we opened up a poll. What's your favorite quote from Ray? Looks like we went ahead and also tweeted the lovely gif of "I bypassed the compressor," which is a good one. We had 3 entries. We had the ATSW _ the escape pod with "Stop taking my hand." So for those of you who remember, Finn just kept grabbing her hand because
chivalry.
I don't know. Chivalry. There we go. That's a good word. That's the scuttlebutt. Says her introduction in The Force Awakens was great. Loved when she made bread and munched on it. Yeah. Munch, munch, munch. Chum, chum, chum.
Thank you, Ro. Yeah, that was a pretty magical moment.
It was very good. And then conversations. That's just Tito wants you for parts.
Is that the little guy trying to like grab BB-8 with a net at the beginning?
I think so.
Gotcha.
That's at least what I remember. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. So, all right. So just the 3.
All right.
Anything immediate popping out to this team? Or I do like the "stop holding my hand" one. I think that's a pretty fun one.
I'm going through the best Ray quotes going online, getting my memory jogged.
Oh.
And I don't know if I've got. I
like "Stop taking my hand" just because when you're running, the last thing you need is someone holding your hand. And the same goes for roller skating and ice skating. Don't hold I'm barely standing up on my own. Do not take my hand.
I'll take you down with me.
I love it.
I like bypass the compressor because it's also an audio joke. That's just me.
I get it. That's you're on the audio guy.
Mm.
All right. Well, if you think of anything more, let us know. You know where to find us on the socials. But I have more information.
Do you?
And that's because it's time for news of the week.
What do we have coming up, Heather?
All right. Numero uno is from cinemablend.com. Get ready to meet Clone Force 99.
Oh my God.
Star Wars: The Bad Batch, an updated cast list. So the genetically mutated clone troopers first introduced to us in Star Wars: The Clone Wars are coming back on, that's right, May the 4th on Disney+. For their very own spinoff, Star Wars: The Bad Batch. Each of these elite squad troopers, cloned from Mr. Jango Fett, has their own key differences from the standard clone trooper, lending to the informal Bad Batch moniker. So basically the details about the show are being kept pretty well under wraps, but here's what we know about the cast. So D. Bradley Baker, he's a voice actor. He's no stranger. He's played multiple characters over the years. He's coming in to do some clone troopers.
All of them.
You know, all of them. Ming-Na Wen. Yay. We love her. Coming back to do Fennec, as was introduced in The Mandalorian. So she's going to go ahead and reprise her role, which is very exciting. Let's see. Who else do we have? Stephen Stanton as Admiral Tarkin.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like the picture in the article, he's kind of got that look on his face like, that's right.
He's about to
I'm
drop a
gonna
couple
kill
super
you.
lasers. Yeah.
Thing. Let's see. Who is this? Andrew Kishino. I hope I said that correctly.
Oh.
Saw Guerrera.
Yeah, he did him in the Clone Wars.
I was gonna say, I hope I'm saying his last name correctly. I'm really bad at the names, and then they make me do news of the week. It's fine. I'm killing it. But yes, so he's obviously reprising his role, which is very exciting. So that's all I have. But we got some big names in there, people from the family, the Star Wars family. So were you excited about the Bad Batch?
Yeah.
As previously stated earlier in the episode.
Can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, it looks really good visually. And so get some good voice actors in there. And
an interesting era from the Star Wars timeline.
Absolutely.
so
I don't think anyone's
Yeah.
really surprised who's on this list. It's just, it feels like a big reunion.
Yep. So, all right. Okay. What do we have? Oh, superherohype.com.
Whoa.
Just a great name for a website. Just put that out there. We have a toy review for Star Wars Milestones, The Child, also known as Grogu. He looks a little weird, I'm not gonna lie. So Box Lunch was the first store to widely offer merchandise based on our beloved quote unquote Baby Yoda. So it's fitting that Diamond Select helped them get an exclusive via regular Star Wars sculptors, Gentle Giant, who use Lucasfilm digital files and skilled sculptors to get near perfect likeness. The Child with Soup comes in a limited run of 5,000 based on the first season episode in which the galaxy's youngest 50-year-old consumes liquid adorably. He comes clad in his little robe on a dirt ground base. So interestingly, this is a rare Grogu product, not to even mention his TV show, The Mandalorian, on the package. So there he is, superherohype.com. There's a little picture of him holding his little, bowl of soup, giant ears. He's just sitting on a little mound. So in real life, he stands about a foot tall. But the statue is about half the size, so it's about closer to 8 inches.
Okay.
Because the character is so small, full body sculpts remain affordable. So for a measly $149.90, you can nab one of these for your very own.
That's a lot less than I thought it would be. Wow.
I want to see the photography that Gentle Giant does on this
Yeah.
statue.
I don't know what
'Cause
photos
the
they
superhero
used.
hype. Yeah.
I don't know. It looks like they use like flash photography and it's in someone's basement. And
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
makes Grogu look like a kidnapping victim. It's really weird.
It
Little
does.
He's like holding up a
Where's his
newspaper
little
with today's
newspaper?
date. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's
We have the same
Really
twisted
funny.
imagination.
We have a bunch of Gentle Giant statues, and they generally do really good stuff.
I love Gentle Giant.
so. All right, well, fingers crossed that he doesn't look the way that he does in these photos. Some people just don't photograph well.
That's
even
We
with
just have to accept that.
even with the shady photography, you could tell the sculpt and the texture work on this is like top notch. So probably worth it.
Excellent. All right. Dun da da da. All right, we are so close that it's time to announce Star Wars. May the 4th be with you.
It's coming.
From Walt Disney World News Today. So WDWNT.com. Okay. May the 4th. Disneyland. The shopping reservation event comes exclusively for legacy pass holders.
Ooh.
So Disneyland Legacy Pass holders will be able to participate in an exclusive Star Wars May the 4th shopping registration event. So last year, Shop Disney hosted a virtual May the 4th Star Wars Day merchandise release event. And if you were able to get anything, congratulations. So to celebrate May the 4th this year, Disneyland Resort will be having an exclusive shopping reservation event for Legacy Pass holders. During this event, those pass holders will have the opportunity to be among the first to purchase these apparel and pins for May the 4th. And as I scroll down the notes, additional details are forthcoming, but a distorted image of a product has been shared as a hint to what's to come. The products will also be available through Disneyland Resort while supplies last. If any product remains after the conclusion of that event, it may be available across the Disneyland Resort.
So I guess legacy pass holders, they're basically people who like had a pass before the pandemic, and they're like, well, we're really sorry. Here's some exclusive stuff you can have until we get back up and running.
Basically. So as I understand it, when the pandemic hit, Legacy, the pass holders sort of went away, and I don't know if they were creating annual pass holders anymore, or they're doing it at a very interesting tier or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which is where the legacy piece is coming in. I don't know all the minute details of it all, but it does appear though that there will be merchandise, and if you're not a pass holder, you'll have to find it on eBay.
Yes. Marked up 5 times.
Seriously. Sorry. They can't all be good news items, I suppose.
No, that's true.
So, okay.
Brad and Lisa, are you pass holders?
No.
We are not.
Legacy
no.
pass holder? No.
No. We're
Bummer.
not even a parking pass holder.
Oh, we're all left out in the cold.
Bummer.
I want to go to Star Wars Land, but I haven't done it yet. I haven't done it.
We should put the APB out on Twitter, see if any of our listeners are pass holders and can give us the inside scoop on what's there.
Yep. I'm sure it'll all be over Twitter once it's all up and running, but
Yeah, nothing's a secret anymore.
no. Well, speaking of Twitter, that's on the internet. I'm here to tell you that the internet can indeed be broken.
Oh.
InsideTheMagic.net. Star Wars legend Harrison Ford. He broke the internet.
Oh my God. What did he do?
Well, let me tell you. So for those of you who watched that sort of a thing last night, the Oscars were, aired on the television. And we know Harrison Ford for a variety of things. The article goes on to talk about all of the things that we know him from. And how he's carved out a place in the thing and the spot and the what, and oh my goodness. And yeah, he was great. But despite his relatively low-key lifestyle, Ford did appear on television last night for the Academy Awards. Ford presented the Academy Award for Best Editing and introduced the award in his unusual manner. The often surly actor began by sharing some editorial suggestions for one of his 80s movies, Blade Runner, Ford playing the character of Rick Deckard in that science fiction thriller. And then, of course, returning to Blade Runner 2049 with Ryan Gosling. Ford's speech was met with chuckles from the audience and subsequently blew up the internet, where he trended on Twitter almost immediately due to his comical comments and, well, just for being Harrison Ford. So some of those tweets include, I love how no matter where Harrison Ford is, you can tell he just doesn't want to be there.
Yep.
I mean, are they wrong?
Entirely.
Harrison Ford breathes and sheer chaos erupts. let's see, what else do we have? What's even crazier about this Harrison Ford segment is that he was just trying to find the bathroom. I mean, this is what Twitter is, people. Just all the things. So did any of you watch the Oscars last night?
Oh yeah,
We did.
You
We
did? Oh,
we watch it every year.
We do.
Hmm.
We're Oscars geeks.
excellent.
And yeah, he looked, like Harrison Ford.
Rolled out of bed.
Rolled
put
out
on
of
a
bed,
tux.
had a little bit of bedroom hair going on. But I, put him in a tux.
The
and he
joke,
can go
like
anywhere.
the edit joke, like the bit that they gave him to set up best editing, was an Oscars like bit, and some are better than others.
I thought it was cute.
I thought it was fine.
And you know what? So, I do think Blade Runner did run long.
Oh, how dare you?
It was deliberately paced.
How dare you?
Dare you?
I'm mostly joking, but a little bit not. It's
But a
long
little
movie.
bit not.
All right. All right.
Well,
Masterpiece.
in
Final
true buddy fashion, Mark Hamill tweeted notes from the same studio executives who thought it was very important to put pants on the Wookiee.
Mark can't help but help himself.
So, he might not want to be there, but he was there, and we are thankful that he was.
That's right. We want him there, and that's what's important. We're the people.
We the people. But that's it. That's all I have for the news.
All the news that's fit to print. And with that, let's head on over to Cantina Chat.
Yeah.
All right, the part of the show where we talk about everything geeky and weird going on in our lives. Heather, what has been going on in your world?
Oh. Well, I know it's been a quick minute since I've been on the podcast, friends. I have missed you
Yes.
as well. I have had some serious adulting going on in my life between work and helping my parents out. I am working with them to get them moved into a home that's much more suitable to their age bracket and their health things, their health issues. So that's been kind of in the forefront of life. However, outside of watching Falcon and Winter Soldier, I had a friend come in for my birthday last weekend.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. And she brought with her 3 seasons of NCIS Los Angeles. So, of course, here I am in the 2nd season already because, that's where we're at. And then I've been doing some antiquing because that's another thing I enjoy doing.
Nice.
Going through my audiobooks. Yeah. That's pretty. I almost got a 3rd kitten.
Oh my
I
goodness.
Did not though. I made a pro con list at work and I invited people to write in their opinions because, I needed help.
Yeah.
But I opted to not get the 3rd kitten. I just couldn't bring the chaos into my life right now.
Yeah.
So, and I now have a Bucky Barnes pillow
As you should.
as the Winter Soldier. And the fun thing, here's his metal arm.
Adorable.
And the best part about this,
Who the hell is Bucky? It says
who the
on
hell is
back.
Bucky? Which is great.
I love it.
My new geeky purchase.
I love it. Well done.
And that's me.
All right. Brad and Lisa, what have y'all been up to out in the wild, wacky world of geekdom?
Well, I've watched now almost all of Schitt's Creek. And
Okay.
I now know what the people are talking about. We mentioned them earlier. Into Harrison Ford, also into Schitt's Creek. Turns out it is amazing. They were right. There is a new Top Chef season that we are enjoying very much.
Yeah.
And there is another book there's a book that is coming out on May the 4th that I'm very excited about.
Okay.
And it is called
Penny.
Penny. I was like, what's the cat's name? Peaches?
No,
No,
Penny.
the cat's name is Penny. and it's very good. It's a graphic novel about a cat named Penny. It's like Garfield meets what? He's-
Cosmic Dread.
Yeah, really dark.
I
It's-
love it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, Carl Stevens is the cartoonist painter. It was originally appeared in the Village Voice over the course of several weeks, and it's about a cat in an apartment having an existential crisis.
I thought I had
am all
it sitting
about
right
this.
here, but it's moved. It's very cute.
I am all about this.
Yeah, I love that it's being released on May the 4th. And so does he. I'm right now going back in time and reading old Judge Dredd comic books.
Yeah.
I've rediscovered my love of Mega City 1 and how that comic, which was, 70s, 80s, a parody of Reagan's America, set in the year 2099 and going forward, it's only become more relevant and surreal to read.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a comedy, it's a docu-series. Like
it's funny because it's true.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, but I'm really enjoying it. And I've been reading like the classic stuff, like The Cursed Earth, but the new stuff from Rob Williams, he just had End of Days, Judge Dredd End of Days came out, Judge Dredd Control. I wasn't really paying attention to 2000 AD as far as contemporary work, and it's pretty great. And I didn't realize that what separates Judge Dredd from characters like Captain America and Spider-Man is that the character actually ages. Every year of publication is another year on Judge Dredd's life.
Oh.
So it came out in the 70s. It was the year 2099 when that happened. Well, now it's 2021, and Judge Dredd's an old, cranky, awful cop. And that's fascinating how that changes the concept of narrative storytelling and as far as what we know from American comics and American superheroes, although you can't really call Judge Dredd a superhero.
So so just imagine John Walker after many decades of a career.
Yeah. Yeah. And you get Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Well, I haven't done a ton. I say this every week. Haven't done a ton of nerdy stuff. But my roommate and I, we watched Mortal Kombat. And
same.
that was a blast. It was everything it needed to be and an ounce more. Not a great movie, but it doesn't need to be. It's just doing its thing. It's Mortal Kombat. It's dudes with slight superpowers beating each other up in horrific, gory ways. It's awesome. And then we also saw Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we've been going through some animated stuff as well. What did we just started something. My mind has gone completely blank. We were watching some series on HBO Max, one of the DC animated series, I believe. It'll come to me, I hope. But yeah, we've just been kind of digging into that world and enjoying ourselves. And you know what? Sometimes that's all you need. All right.
Excellent.
Todd
Excellent.
has a write-in.
Oh, he does.
Got a new laptop, 3 exclamation points. That's very
Ooh.
important if you follow along with the lore of this podcast. Always fun to get some new tech. Going to be streaming more soon. Got a little time to focus on his book this week, which was fun. The book that he's writing. Started watching Caravan of Courage with Trent. Oh, this reminds me. I will save it for after. Did a podcast with Ro from The Scare of Scuttlebutt and Greg from Rebel Base Cards talking about collecting. He went to see Mortal Kombat in IMAX. Best movie adaptation to a video game yet. Again, not a high bar, but at least it's accurate to the source material. Miss you guys. We miss you too, Todd. Wish you could be here, but thanks for writing in. I've got 2 comments on that. First, yes, Mortal Kombat being accurate to the video game is quite funny. There's a scene where he keeps spamming this move where he trips out the legs from this guy. And I'm like, I've been victim to that move before. I know that well. And then he mentioned Caravan of Courage with Trent, and Um, my roommate and I, we just discovered on Disney Plus, they have the animated segment from the holiday special with Boba Fett, uh, just on its own as a separate thing. And it's like, okay, that's like the most official acknowledgement we've ever had of the holiday special being a thing. I can't remember what it's called, but it's on there.
It's on there. It's in the vintage collection. If you click
Yes.
on that, and that's also where the Tartakovsky's Clone Wars cartoons are. And I
Yes,
Mhm.
and the
just went
Ewok
through all of those again.
specials.
Yeah.
So yeah, I almost don't want to watch Caravan of Courage again, not because I hate it, but because the one time that I saw this was before it was officially released, and it was a bunch of friends of mine and I gathered on the internet, just like watching this streaming off someone's computer, and they had like this digital transfer of like a VHS recording someone made of it, like back in the 80s or whenever it aired. And so there's like this VHS texture on it. There's like tracking errors on it. It like glitches out from time to time. Like there's some like commercials still left in that they forgot to like hit stop
I love
on. And it's like that's how you need to watch this. It adds that kind of film of like bedtime story over it that you kind of need to tolerate it. But
Yeah.
I thought when I watched this as a kid, because you see it on TV and then you never see it again. So I thought for most of my childhood that I had hallucinated it. And I thought it was a product of my own imagination.
wow.
And when I discovered that it was something that other people also experienced, it like soothed me.
Wow.
That's true.
Awesome. Well, yeah, if you want to relive it, go see it. It's on the D plus. Or not. I don't know. I'm not a cop. But yeah, that's about all I got. So thank you, Brad and Lisa, for coming on to another episode of WSTR, and thank you, listeners, for listening in on another episode. Check us out on social media. Give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, and we will throw some swag directly into your face. No warning. You'll know it when it happens. Call in, leave us a voicemail at 630-557-WSTR. That's 630-557-9787. Our entire back catalog is on podcast.wstrmedia.com. We got our merch store, store.wstrmedia.com. Our Patreon, patreon.com/WSTRmedia. And we are part of the Red 5 Network, which is a great family of awesome Star Wars podcasts. Go check them out, red5network.com. Thank you, YouTube chat, for hanging out with us. We'll see you next Monday. And podcast listeners, if you can, we'd love to see you there too. That's livestream.wstrmedia.com. Brad and Lisa, one last time, where can our listeners find you?
You can find us at comicbookcouplescounseling.com, on Twitter and Instagram at CBCC Podcast. Our latest episode is with author Carl Stevens about his book Penny, a graphic memoir. Our next episode is another interview with Alex DeCampi talking about her new teen sci-fi graphic novel, Full Tilt Boogie. That would be great. No, Full Tilt Boogie. And it is, Lisa used the word masterpiece.
I loved it.
Wow.
If you're into
That is high praise.
sci-fi, chicks doing cool stuff, and grandmas
And cats.
and gigantic gaseous computer heads,
Yeah,
you're gonna love it. It's so good.
it's so good. It really is.
I think
But
this
now
was
I
written
want to
for Heather.
watch the film version of it.
Kind
Yeah.
of, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the book is perfect.
The book is perfect. And that comes out May 12th, the book.
Mhm.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll be getting back to a super secret project. Have we even announced?
No, we've
it?
announced it. We're going to be talking about You Do It.
The Fantastic Four, and we're going to be using the self-help book. Oh, were you talking about that? Did I just?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I'm not giving you a look. Keep going.
He
Keep
just
going.
looks like that.
The Fantastic Four.
And we're going to use the 4 Tendencies as our self-help book.
It's going to be fun.
I'm excited.
Fantastic.
Yes.
All right, next week, episode 219, The Big Dance, Star Wars Day. We're going to be celebrating May the 4th. So don't miss it. We're going to be exploring our favorite things of Star Wars, and we want you to be there. So come by. All right. There's only one way to end this, gang. Now, this
This
is
is
podcasting.
podcasting.